What is going on, everyone? Hope you guys are all having an amazing day. My name is Ricky with a Profit. There we go. We just got the morning bell. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start minimizing my screen. If you guys see someone filming me in the back, don't get distracted. I'm going to go ahead and minimize the screen. We're just filming a quick little video for the team is all. So I'm going to start minimizing my screen just so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm trading. So again, thank you guys again all for tuning in. Looks like a couple of my alerts for DGAS are, MU at or above $50. That's pretty solid. Looks like we're experiencing a slight little pullback right now for DGAS. Looking at overall natural gas is pushing back up. We just broke above 2.79. Let's all I want to make sure that we do is continue to trade in between the middle VWAP and top VWAP, and that would make sense. So let's go ahead and see what ends up happening. Right now we're approaching that EMA line. SQ just went at or above 47.52. So let's see what everyone is looking at today. So sound is low. All right, no worries. I can go ahead and put on these headphones and we should be good. So ding, ding, ding. Yeah, there we go. So that sounds like a couple of you are having, it must be my, here you go. Can you guys hear better? Must be a little bit better right now. So let me go ahead and set this up. Voice is low, alerts are too high. Can you turn the sound up? There we go. I think we should be good there. But do you guys see the pattern right now going on? We could see that it's showing signs of an uptrend pattern intraday, right, on the 1 day, 1 minute chart. We could see that it's trying to hold above this EMA line. But most importantly, one thing that I want to make sure that we continue to do is to hold above this specific VWAP indicator, right? So the purple VWAP trading on top of the top VWAP, right? We want to make sure that we continue this ascending uptrend pattern. One thing that there we go, X just went below 35.20. Not a good sign for those that are in X. But let's see what everyone is, how everyone is doing today. Way better. Okay, that's loud. Okay. Well, I think this would be a little bit better than, yeah. There we go. We're getting a nice little push up. And it looks like right now during pre-market highs, that's going to be right around 26.90. We're getting a nice little push up. And on the day, a little bit over $1,300. And yeah, the MACD is trying to curve back in. As you can see, it almost hit a peak formation, which it's something that I should have actually identified. But just because it was during pre-market hours, I just thought that it didn't necessarily have to play a huge role. I can see right now on my other screen that natural gas is continuously getting rejected. Let's see if we can get a nice little push up. I'm going to look at previous patterns. Let's look at the 5-day, 5-minute chart. And this has been a previous price point, like right below $27 on where it's peaked out at. So that's something that I want to take into consideration on a potential resistance that, hey, it might be struggling to break and hold above $27. So what I can do is I can consider the idea of selling. If I really start seeing that $27 is a very solid resistance, then I could really consider the idea of selling my position below sub 27, and then if it continues to break above, then I could always revisit the idea of getting back in. But yeah. And if you have any questions along the way, just let me know. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Oh. I had to make sure that we change this to the live chat. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Paparazzi. I like it. Okay. Okay, so Don, or what is it? John is saying you're confused. Can you ask me? So Don, I've added, and I talked about this one. So my first initial position was at around 27.41. That was when I took, I think it was a $10,000 position. Right now, I'm in a little bit over $30,000. So I think it might be like around 34,000. And it has to do with me adding to my position as I saw that it was trying to recover, but that ended up getting rejected. So yeah, good question though. So right now we're still getting a good sign of an uptrend pattern. We can see a pretty solid push up. And again, looking at the overall future, right, for natural gas. So for natural gas, you can see that it's continuously getting rejected by this EMA line. Something that we want to take into consideration is like, right now it's aggressively pushing down, right, for natural gas. It's going to slow down and it's not going to push down as aggressively, and it's going to slowly try to recover. And at that time, that's when I'm going to want to sell my degas position, which then I can wait for the sell-off, or wait for the push-up. That means that degas is going to then pull back. And then when it starts to recover for degas, then I can choose to get back in and start to swing trade it in that position. So I hope that makes sense. So right now we got degas pushing at around 26.84. We're right a little bit under $1,500. So let me go ahead and see what we can get here. We're getting a nice little push-up. I mean, I really like the momentum. It's doing a really good job holding. There we go. So 26.83, 26.85. Let's see. Something that I'm going to get ready is I'm just going to get my limit order ready, right? So I'm going to do the options. I'm sorry, not the options, by the command sell, right? Click edit. And with the limit order, I'm just going to put the amount of shares that I have available, right? Which is 1,300. And I'm going to do a limit order, and I'm going to do it at a little bit of a higher price point. Again, it's just so I can have my little line set up so I can quickly drop it if there happens to be a break of pattern. So I'm going to do like 27.10, so it'll pop up here. So 27.10, 1,300 shares limit order, confirm, and then send. And it's going to be popping up right here. So if I all of a sudden want to change it, I can take care of that right away. So right now we're still getting a nice little push up. It is showing signs of a peak formation. Do you guys see that? Showing signs of a peak formation right around here at around 26.80 to 26.90 almost. I want to see if there's a break of pattern, and if not, then I can consider the idea of covering profits. The reason that I'm considering covering right now has to do with the there we go. The curling EMA, the curling MACD, also the RSI showing to be a little bit on the overextended side. So let's see what ends up happening. Right now it has a support and it's trying to build a support at around 26.80, which makes sense. But is it going to break below it, or is it continue to uptrend down? Again, right now there is no break of pattern. It's still actively trending up, and it makes sense on why it can continue to trend up. Just know that this is a kind of like a technique that I use, and not even really a technique. I mean, I'm pretty conservative, right? So with that understanding, like it just comes down to, there we go. So we got a nice little push up. It just means that I really don't like giving back some of my profits, so that means that I tend to cover sometimes a little bit too early, and that's what it's all about. That's okay with me, and that's something that I'm comfortable with. So just wanted to make sure that that is easily expressed, that just because I cover profits or something like that doesn't necessarily mean that you all have to as well. So I like it. I agree, Amy. Thank you again. Yeah, so for natural gas to be below 2.75, Amy, can you explain? I know why that specific price point is important. Can you explain to others, if you can, why you want it below 2.75? Like why that figure? So she's saying that for natural gas, so for /NG, she wants it to be below 2.75. So looking at this, even on like the 10-day chart, why is it that she might want it below this specific price point right around right here? So looking at this 180-day analysis, why is it that price point that's so significant to her? So right around here. See. There we go. Natural gas is trying to push back, pull back. Let's see. We're green on degas. Can we get a solid break? Let's see what Amy said. It's a former resistance. Yep. I like it. So it's just more of a solid confirmation. So you know how with ticker symbol Gush, I said like, hey, I really need Gush to be below $30. $30 was a common resistance for Gush, and that's what made me want to see Gush below $30 because it's a very strong resistance, which means that it can become a very strong support. And because of that understanding, I want to make sure that if I go into DRIP, the inverse ETF, then I get an overall confirmation, and that general confirmation I think would be pretty solid when Gush breaks below 30, which means that DRIP should be pushing above like $9 to $10, which is something that it hasn't done yet. So right now we have a nice little push up. We see that natural gas is still selling off, I mean, I like it. So right now we just broke a little bit over $1,500. We're almost approaching highs of day, right? So this is something that I'm going to want to take into consideration to potentially cover profit. There we go. There we go. All right, so up. Oh, and it looks like my order is about to fill. Looks like that sell-off was pretty aggressive. All right. So we just broke above $27. I'm going to go ahead and move this up a little bit. There we go. There's a slight pullback. And again, the reason that I still have not covered profits, I'm being a little bit more risky right now, and it has to do because right now it's trading in between the middle VWAP and the top VWAP. So something that you guys might want to take into consideration when choosing to cover profits. I've done this before, and I always tend to cover way too early. I'm okay with that, though. Don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm okay with covering profits too early. I'm just trying something a little bit different right now, and in reality, I'm probably going to still cover profits a little bit too early anyways. But I can consider covering profits maybe when there's a break of pattern, maybe if it drops below the EMA, maybe something like that, right? So because it pushed up very aggressively, it makes sense on why the pullback would be just as aggressive. So something that you can take into consideration. The volatility is definitely picking up, and that's good and bad sometimes. I'm going to look at natural gas. Natural gas is pushing down quite aggressively, and I think it has to do with my dollar value. I'm invested quite a bit right now for DGAS, and I think that's why I'm considering the idea of just covering profits to get the reassurance that, okay, I'm good, I'm solid, it's actively, trending up and stuff like that. So let's look at the 20-day. Push up. All right, we're getting a nice little push up, so let's see. Yep. Don, you freaking cracked me up. I covered profits on DGAS. Congratulations, Eric. Yep. Yeah, so that's something that we'll talk about in just a second, so that's good for bringing it up. Correct, and that's a pretty good example. So there's a correlation between /GC and JNUG, and we've talked about that before, but it's not an exact correlation. So that's also, and even for natural gas does follow a little bit tighter than I've seen than some of these like gold ETFs and gold futures, but it's never always exact. So definitely something that we want you guys to take into consideration. You still need to understand the patterns for these ETFs and how those are trading, and that's why I tend to have either just one or two screens pulled up, even if it's like with your phone or something like that, because I have DGAS right here and how that's trading, and then I have natural gas as well on my screen on the side, just to get a better understanding on the overall patterns with that. So yeah, we're still seeing a pretty decent sell-off with natural gas itself as of right now, and something that I really like about the natural gas future, and this is what I'm keeping a very close eye out, and something that because of Don's, I think it's Don, and it might not be, but yeah, so one thing that I talked about yesterday is how I used the MACD indicator to get a better understanding of when something is about to peak out or start to curve back in. And right now for /NG, the bars are still getting longer and longer, right? So the red bars. So it's still showing signs of a descending pattern. Once I start seeing signs of recovery for natural gas, then that would give me, once the bars start getting smaller and smaller, that's giving me the understanding that the aggressiveness for the sell-off is starting to die out. And I might want to consider the idea of potentially covering profits because then it'll slowly start to recover. Again, you never want to solely rely on just one specific indicator or anything like that, but you want to take that into consideration when to cover profits. So right now, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And actually, I'll show you guys right now. So looking at /NG, you could see that on the MACD and stuff like that. Why does this look a little bit different? Oh, I'm actually at the 5-day, 5-minute. I wanted to get a little bit more of a so the MACD even intraday is starting to show signs more of a curve in. Do you see the MACD indicator? But I wanted to go over the this specific thing of what's it called? There we go. And this is starting to show signs of a potential recovery. And this is when I'm going to want to consider the idea of covering profits for yeah. So I want to see if we can get one more push up because we got natural gas pushing up right now. And again, I might be covering way too early. I'm 100% aware of that and okay with that. I could have covered at around $27, which would have made sense. But yeah. Let's see. So I know it's just really struggling to hold above $27, which makes sense, right? The volume is starting to die out just a little bit. And because of that, so right now we got to pull back to around this EMA line. So are we going to get a push up or should I cover profits? There we go. It's trying to hold above 26.90, but it's it is holding off on really pushing up pretty aggressively. All right. Yeah, it looks like it's struggling to hold above that specific price point of 26.90. There we go, 26.90. Can we get a nice little push up? I'm going to quickly follow with this, see if we can get a nice little push up. And right around $27. Hit highs of around 27.04. But yeah, not too worried about that. There we go. So do you guys see this? This is the first time that as the market has opened that there's a potential break of pattern. So this is where I'm going to want to consider the idea of potentially starting to cover profits. Last time that this happened, I forgot what I was trading. I think it might have been ticker symbol like drip or gush. It was a very small profit. If you watch it in the, let's see, oh, there it goes. So confirmation that it's showing signs of a descending pattern. We see natural gas now pushing up, and I will show you guys that confirmation right now. So looking at / where is it at? There it goes. And there's a pretty solid sell-off. Can it hold above the middle VWAP? We will see. But with / NG, you could see that this thing started to push back up. So again, that's why it's really important to understand like the correlation. I started to see that the MACD indicator, the MACD bar on the 5-minute chart, starting to show signs of an actual descending pattern right here, right? Because the 1 day, 1 minute might be a little bit too volatile, so it might just show that it's about to recover, but it might not actually start to recover, kind of similar to like this. But then something like this where you could actually see the bars starting to curve in, right? The bars are now starting to get smaller, which means that it's going to slowly start to recover. Is something that you want to take into consideration when you're going against a specific future. So I'll make a video elaborating a little bit more on that. I think I owe you guys. Oh, this is definitely pushing up pretty solid. So DGAS is, yeah. So DGAS is selling off. Can we on the 1 day, 1 minute? Let's see. There we go. We actually did just break below the middle VWAP, and I think that we can get rejected by / NG at around what's it called? The middle VWAP, just because it's been rejected during pre-market hours, during extended hours for natural gas. It was rejected right around that middle VWAP. I don't know if you guys could actually see that. but for natural gas, it was being rejected. There's a lot of consolidation at the middle VWAP, and then it got rejected, and it's what caused the sell-off, and it was perfect for market open and that solid push up. And this is like the scariest part, right? Especially if you've ever been like up actually quite a bit on a position. Because you guys saw how much it was that I was up, right, on Diaz, and we called everything out on like, okay, when it might potentially start to reverse, there's some consolidations, there's a break of pattern, and it's like, okay, Ricky, well, why didn't you cover profits? It's for the potential for D-gas to continue to push up, and then for natural gas to get rejected at the middle VWAP, which can cause so much, which then I can make so much more profit on top of that if this thing continues the descending pattern. So it comes down to like the opportunity cost and stuff like that. And the reason that I can make that assumption or that decision and I can be okay with it is like, first of all, am I being greedy, right? Does D-gas even really have any more margin to recover, right? And if we do a simple 20-day analysis, we could see that D-gas has a lot of margin to recover. It has all this margin to recover, right? So the opportunity cost is worth it for me in that perspective. Does that make sense? So it's not like if D-gas was around like 29.50 and I'm trying to like squeeze out every penny. That's not the case, right? I'm in D-gas right now. It's pushing up and it's doing great, right? But who's to say that it can't continue to trend up within the next couple of hours, right? And because it has all this margin to recover, that margin is very attractive, and it's something that I definitely would like to potentially capitalize on. But I know that along the way I might have to experience and go through a series of pullbacks. So it's just having that understanding that like, okay, why am I holding? Like, why am I holding something when I already see that it's pushing up and all that good stuff? And it just comes down to the understanding that there's more margin left for potential profit. So right now we're seeing a little sell-off for natural gas, which it looks like it actually got rejected by that 1-day, 1-minute EMA, which means that we might get a nice little push up. Can we break above this EMA line, or is it going to get rejected? That's going to be a decision factor. Like, I could cover profits right now if I see it getting rejected, but we have a nice little push up. It's continuing that uptrend pattern, and again, although it's trading in between the middle VWAP and top VWAP, do you see how it's still sold off a little bit below it? These VWAP indicators and all the indicators that you guys might be using, they're never exact. Like, you can't ever, sometimes we might get lucky and they touch it perfectly and then they start to recover, and that's really nice when that happens. That's like kind of like right here, that's like the perfect picture of like what can happen. But in reality, they almost never bounce at exactly that specific price point, because again, they're what are they called? They're formulas, right? And it doesn't always mean that they have to bounce at that specific or exact price point. So I could see that the MACD is now starting to curve back in. So that means like the sell-off. Do you guys see this? So like the sell-off, and when it hit its peak, that's when we got the biggest MACD bar, and it's starting to curve back in. So it's showing signs of a potential recovery. Let's look at natural gas real quick. Natural gas should be showing signs of a potential reversal. Do you guys see what I'm saying right now? And again, we're on the 1-day, 1-minute chart, so it's pretty volatile right now. But we could see that it peaked out, and we got the biggest MACD bar right there, and now it's showing signs of a potential descending pattern. We can go on the 1-day, 5-minute to get a slower moving MACD, and based on that, it's still showing that it has more to sell off. So it's something we might want to take into consideration. Let's see. So we're still getting some consolidation around this specific price point. Huge pullback on Apple. Okay. Yeah, so what's the time frame that you're looking at? So you're looking at the 4-hour, right? And on that 4-hour, so when it comes down to the swing trades, yes, it definitely does make sense on the 180 chart. We can see that it is showing signs of a potential recovery. So it 100% makes sense on why it would continue to cover. The only thing is that we're going it. So the opportunity cost is worth it, in my opinion. It's just I took my positions right now for DGAS is a little bit too. It's a little bit higher than what I would want it to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to cover by the end of the day, and if I see like a pullback opportunity, I really see that DGAS starts to get rejected, then I'll probably cover profits then. Or if I see it hit like a new high of day or something like that, then I'll look out for that, or when it looks a little bit more overextended. But yeah, so let's see how we're doing. So 100%, I do see that it is starting to curve back up, and it makes sense on why it can start to recover and all that good stuff. So 100% great call out on that, especially with the length of the 15 EMA. So yeah, I'm really glad that you're able to see that. So we could also see right here that the SMA line, we could see why it potentially got rejected right here by the SMA line. What is this on the 30-minute chart? So yeah, but really, I don't think it's validated this 30-minute chart too many times, and it got rejected. I had to push above it before it did, was trending below it. So maybe we can wait for more of a confirmation, maybe when it breaks above and this EMA line starts to curve back more up, something that we can take into consideration. But right now, actually, I actually don't like this pattern too much. Do you guys see almost like this descending pattern, this like bull flag pattern? Do you guys see that? So what I can do is, if it maybe starts to curl up, but right now I don't like that it's almost, let's see. Yeah, it's holding at that support too much. It's like really riding that support line, and it's doing quite the opposite, right, for this natural gas future. It would make sense on why natural gas would try to recover right now, and then try to push up to like that middle VWAP or that SMA indicator, and then start to sell off. So that's the only thing that I'm looking at right now. And also, I don't like this descending EMA line, that it's pointing more down. So something that I want to take into consideration. And there we go. We got a pretty solid confirmation of a downward pattern. Yep, we got natural gas pushing up, which means that DGAS should be pulling back. I scaled out of DGAS. Nice, nice, nice. Correct. So we've talked about this before, especially if you've watched the entire course. There's a specific video that I made based on earnings, and it talks and discusses the idea of even when stocks do end up hitting their earnings, that they still have sell-offs, and that's why I made that video. And I just talk about the concept of like the opportunity cost, and a lot of the stocks that usually hit their earnings but still experience sell-offs are because if you do a technical analysis, especially like on that 180-day chart, if you see that it's very overextended, although it hit its earnings, its guidance might have been a little bit off, which actually might have been the catalyst to drive the price up prior to that, on why it was so overpriced. And because of that, if the earnings are not even as expected, but don't exceed the earnings, yeah, I don't know. You have to think about it a little bit more in that perspective of like, the company was doing so well, in people's eyes and in what it was going to do. And although it did well and hit its earnings, it didn't do so well for it to be so overbought, which then causes a sell-off for it to kind of correct itself. So I hope that makes sense. Let's see. Trying to get a push up. I have to be a little bit patient with this one. Oh. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, but it's definitely starting to show signs of this like descending pattern, right? So it makes sense on almost why it would try to sell off and then try to recover here. So let's see, there we go. All right, I'm going to start doing a couple technical analysis just for the group as a whole, and then we can kind of go from there. It is doing a pretty poor job pushing up. Right now, natural gas is natural gas is the one that's doing a good job aggressively pushing up and stuff like that. So I heard some of you wanted me to break down JNUG and stuff like that. So what I want to do is I actually want to break down /GC and talk about that pattern. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, so there is some consolidation happening right now at around 1320, which is a price point that we talked about yesterday. It's a very simple breakdown. I don't want to overcomplicate it. It is doing a lot of consolidation. It's done this before. It can continue to sell off. The direction of the EMA, that's mainly what I want to focus on. Right now it's kind of horizontal still with like a downward slant. What I want to see is for this thing to start pushing up and for the EMA line to follow as well. So again, if you were to put an arrow at the end of the EMA line, what direction would it be pointing? And I want to make sure that it's pointing up if I want to invest my money. And that's definitely not the case right now. So what we can do is we could follow up with this one when this thing starts to push up to get a more general confirmation that, hey, you know, /GC is actually pushing up. And that's why it would make sense to take a position on something like NUGT and JNUG, which are the bull gold ETFs, right? But as of now, what's it called? JNUG itself, or JDST, because of this rejection, is still the one that's still actively trading up, although it's showing signs of this potential curling pattern. I 100% understand. Just let's be patient, right? Let's make sure that we understand that, yeah, JNUG does have a lot of high potential for recovery, but that we don't force it or overdo it. So, yeah. And then some of you guys wanted me to break down, like right now for Gush and Drip, I think Gush should be down. Again, it's just this overall push that it has going up is definitely not pushing up as aggressive anymore. It's still showing signs of an uptrend pattern. EMA line is still pointing up. Just a lot of consolidation happening. Again, it still has this margin to be able to capitalize on up to the resistance at around $36. I would just keep a very close eye on this direction of the EMA. I think it is a little bit more on the overbought side. And as you can see, the MACD indicator is starting to become less of an active or valid like indicator for this, just because of the volatility that's actually happening right now with Gush and with Drip, because just so much consolidation. And yeah, so but if we look at /CL, which is something that we could use to reference, we could see that it's showing signs of a peak formation, but we could also still see that the SMA line is pointing up. So even if it does pull back, you know, it only means that, you know, there's only so much that, you know, Drip can recover. And again, I talked about Drip and the, you know, the strong downward pattern, and I would like to completely stay away from Drip until it actually breaks and holds above, you know, for a swing trade above $9. So just, you know, food for thought on that pattern. So let's talk about Ford. I'm going to break down a couple of the stocks that we had very briefly. Ford is still showing signs of it being a little bit more on the overbought side. It is actively trending up, which is something that's very attractive. But again, is just asking that question, are you getting a good deal? Potentially no, but if there's a break of pattern and it breaks above 1150, just know that that's not something that it's done before, and it's showing signs of this like kind of like bear flag pattern. Do you see this with the resistance at around 1150 and this ascending uptrend EMA? So just something that you guys might want to take into consideration. We got SQ trying to recover. I personally still, yeah, I mean, I do see value in it, but just because it's so close to earnings, I don't think that it would really recover on time. We got DIAS, we got JNUG, we got ticker symbol M. M had a previous resistance at around $31, hit highs of 32.45. You know, definitely still pushing up. But again, just asking that question, you know, is this a good deal right now? Yes, it's going based on momentum, and yes, it's, you know, rallying up. That's great and all. And from 31 to 32, you know, that margin is about 2 to 3%. But just ask yourself, is that percentage potential even worth it? Because of how much it's already recovered and pushed up. Like, it has more potential, in my opinion, to sell off. So again, I'm just trying to play the defense and stuff like that. So I actually had a lot of questions talking about like USLV and LABU and LABD, and I'm going to talk about that very quickly just because a lot of them did come from the Learn Plan Profit Group. So I want to give a shout out to, I think it was Master P. Master P, if I'm not mistaken, you talked about USLV and the support line that it has right here, right around $10 that it usually consolidates around. Sometimes it does drop below, so again, take that into consideration. How do we know when it's going to start to actively trend up? That's why I have my alert set here at around 10:30, and when the EMA line and the direction of the EMA starts to point up. Obviously, the margin of profit can be pretty nice. The last time it hit highs of a little bit over 1150, which is about almost 15% potential for profit. So that's not bad, right? And I just need to wait for the confirmation because it's still showing signs of this descending pattern. So something you might want to think about. A lot of people were talking about LABD as the one that is active, the one that's a good potential buy. And I for every single one that asked me about LABD, I said check out LABU and see why that one is actively trending up. This is a strong descending pattern. And every time that it descends, people thought that it was going to catch at around the SMA line. Never in its previous pattern have I seen it, like it did some consolidation, but it never actually bounced on the SMA line. And especially seeing how strong it descended, I still think that it can continue to descend and bounce at around these lower price points, which then the inverse, right, LABU, gave me the understanding of why this thing can continue to push up and then get rejected right around where the SMA line is at. Those are huge margins, a little bit over 10%. So you just have to ask yourself, is that opportunity cost worth taking? I like to focus on patterns that are a little bit more ascending, right? So that's why I choose to trade something like DGAS, because it offers more of a horizontal pattern rather than trading something like UGAS, which offers more of a descending pattern. I like to trade something more like JDST, which offers more of a horizontal pattern in correlation to JNUG, which offers more of a descending pattern. So again, just trade whatever you're comfortable with, but I'm just sharing my opinion on that. So we had someone else, it was actually, there's a couple of traders, but I went live for the TechBot Solutions group, which is something that I'm going to be doing on like a weekly basis. And I came across this stock, right? XHB. And it shows this descending pattern, which is a form of risk, right? Which is something that, it's a pattern that I don't usually recommend, especially for new traders. But it's been so consistent on the low points and on the high points that it's very easy, based on previous patterns, to be able to determine when it is a good buy and when it is a good sell. And the margin of profit wasn't that bad, even though when it got the confirmation that it's still actively trending up. So that's why I just wanted to add it to my watch list and then follow up with it and see if it completes this entire pattern as well. So we talked about Gush already in the push up that it's been having. WTW is still pushing up, but again, it's getting very close to its earnings, so that's something that you might want to take into consideration. And then JDST showing signs of this potential curling pattern, and I talked about that already. So, and we got DGAS still trying to push up, so that's pretty nice. Will it hold? I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. Yeah, thank you again for calling out ticker symbol S. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, this one, yeah. So great call out on this. I'm guessing it's because of its earnings that this one came out to your attention. Honestly, I did not like Sprint because of this solid descending pattern. So that's just in my opinion. It's pushed up very aggressively. In my honest opinion, as of now, looking at where it's at, you just have to ask yourself, is this a good deal? No, not really. Can you day trade it because of how aggressively it's been pushing up? 100%. But how much more margin does it have to give off, right? And that's kind of like the risk that you take on. The reason that you probably see a lot of value in this one is because of the pattern within the past couple of days of how aggressive it's been pushing up, right? It's been doing a very good job with that. I would keep a very close eye more on this pattern and understand that right now it's not such a good deal, that it usually consolidates, it gets closer to the SMA line, and then it pushes up again. I would see more value in that pattern rather than trying to get in right now and then hoping that it continues to push up based on momentum and stuff like that, because we could see that there's a huge spike due to the earnings, but it's not really actively pushing up intraday as aggressive anymore. Can it still recover? Yes, but that's not why you originally saw value. You originally saw value based on this huge pushes up, and you want to get in closer to the EMA line and the SMA line. So just take that into consideration. Yeah, that's funny. Let's see. All right, so we just got DGAS pushing above 2680. So I just figured out how to sign in on DGAS. Yes, I mean, it's still a good potential buy, but as of right now, I'm looking at that to be more of a sell. The reason why is just because DGAS has pushed up a lot within the past couple of just the past hour. So it's just seeing when something can be a little bit more on the overextended side, and that's what I kind of see. And also like holding over the earnings and also the dollar value. Again, that's a huge part for me right now. My dollar value right now in DGAS is a little bit too high. Would you mind in a later video going over active trader? I really like. Okay, so Blake, just to let you know, I do have a video in the Learn Plan Profit lesson library talking about like my hotkeys and how I buy and sell. I still owe you guys a more in-depth video on like how to buy and the different order types and stuff like that, so I'll be sure to do that. But yeah. Your guys' messages cracked me up. DKS. Let's go ahead and break that down. I feel like you guys are doing a very good job with your callouts, because there's not a lot of callouts that are happening this morning. And I think the reason why is because you guys are having a much better understanding of like what it is that you guys wanted to trade, or possibly just don't want to take a position on the last day and not forcing it, which is something that I think is pretty smart. So for Dick's Sporting Goods, we could see a general resistance at around $36. We could see that it started, the SMA line is starting to show signs of this potential curling pattern, but then we could also see that it's actively trying to push up right now. So we could take that into consideration. I would watch out for potential resistance right around $34, and then the one that follows at around 36. It's definitely actively trending up. It is a little bit on the overextended side. I would like to wait a little bit closer to this EMA, because if you get in right now and then it pulls back, again, all this range is still the same pattern. But then you go through the potential of taking all this loss, and then before, if it actually does end up confirming a reversal, then the loss is going to be that much greater, right? But if you were to just wait for a pullback or try to get in closer to the EMA, you're so much closer to that decision factor of should I hold or should I cover profits, that the loss or the risk is so much less. So I definitely do see the potential, right? Offers a pretty decent margin, almost 10%. So I find that to be pretty attractive. So yeah, good call out. Can you go over, can I go over what? Can you go over, it's uptrending, it's great, okay. Can you share a list of pattern examples in a month or two? Okay. Okay. So again, there's a bunch of examples on patterns that you can, a real quick analysis on this one, way overextended. Not a good deal. You can see that it's showing signs of a peak formation just like it's done before. I just think it's a matter of time for this thing to sell off and get closer to this SMA line and stuff like that. So this isn't something that I would find to be a good deal at all. That's just my opinion. But again, so I don't mind making a video. I'll make a video more on patterns and stuff like that, and I'll add it to the Learn Plan Profit lesson library, because I'm sure that can assist a couple of our traders. But I've already made a video about bull flag patterns, bear flag patterns, which is something that I focus on a lot. If you have a couple examples of different patterns that you would like me to cover, then feel free to direct message me or Justin for video suggestions. And just again, get straight to the point and just tell me what you would like to see, or something that you've been struggling with that I have not already covered. I think that would be a good idea. So let me go over Apple. Let's see, what the heck? Oh. So Apple did just have a pretty solid sell-off. Does it have to do with its earnings? Let's look at that. See, what the heck? There we go. Yep, Apple. And again, this is why the confirmation is so important. It hasn't even had its earnings. I'm guessing just certain news came out on, maybe it has bad potential earnings or something like that. And look at the last time that it had earnings. It had a pretty solid sell-off, and then it began to recover. So because of that, let's be patient and let's actually wait for a confirmation, because it still has a really solid range to be able to capitalize on. So just let's take that into consideration. USLV just broke below $10. So something that you might want to take into consideration if you're trading those specific that specific ETF. So and then someone called out MU with a solid sell-off. Yeah, but again, It was trying to push up, but it had a pretty solid resistance right around $51, so not much there. We got Cisco. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 more breakdowns, and they're all right here. So no more breakdowns, team. Okay, so Cisco is actively trading up. Previous resistance at around $46. It can make higher highs, right? But the overall opportunity cost, especially with where it's at right now and how much margin it has left to offer, I don't find that to be the best or most attractive stock out there. If it pulls back and you can get in closer to the EMA line and seeing on where it's at right now, that would make sense. It's a little bit more attractive. It's about 4%, but other than that, not too focused on that. So right now, DGAS, we're actually getting a pretty solid push up a little bit over $1,500 on the day. And it's going, right? We were patient. We got this consolidation happening right around the middle VWAP, and it's starting to really push up. This is something that I'm going to want to take into consideration on when to cover profits. There's no signs of a reversal just yet, but one thing that I'll do is I'll set my alert at the break above here as I do the rest of my technical analysis, and also I will set my alert here if it breaks below the EMA line, because that would be a break of pattern, to consider the idea of covering profits. So TVIX. So we've done breakdowns on TVIX, team. So TVIX is still actively trending down, and yeah, it's still actively trending down. So it's making lower lows. It's no signs of an uptrend. So, yeah, not a good call out. SBLK. So SBLK, it already hit its peak. Do you see that it's on a descending pattern right now? It hit its peak. It's showing signs of a descending pattern. Same thing here. It hit its peak at around $13 and is now descending. Yes, it can potentially bounce, but again, it already had its ride up. So right now we're getting in. So if it bounces here and then continues to push up, then we have the potential to make profit here. But also it's showing more of a curling pattern. So good call out. Just we're a little bit too late on this one. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. And then the last one was this one, and I believe we broke this one down yesterday. So I'm actually not whatever. CR. What was that? So CRSP. So CRSP, yeah, showing signs of an uptrend pattern with this ascending SMA, previous resistance at around like $57, $58. It does have potential to continue to recover. Right now it is is on a slight pullback. I would wait for a new highs. So if it breaks above like $51, that could be a potential good entry, confirming that uptrend pattern. And around with the resistance around $58, offers a little bit over 14% potential for profit, which is definitely something that I see value in. So good call out there, my friend. Is that Peter? Yep, that's Peter. But that is it. So again, I'm not going to be doing any more breakdowns. Good example for earning drop on X. Yep. Let's see. I need a sexy stock. Thank you, Francisco. I appreciate that. Let's see if natural gas holds above 2.77 or breaks below. The latter is in favor of DGAS. I like that. I like that. So right now, yeah, DGAS is trying to show signs of an uptrend pattern. It is, slowing down and showing more of a peak formation right around $27. So that's the only thing on why I might want to cover profits here. Getting a nice little push up. So I'm going to cover profits in about, where's this at right now? 26, then 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see, can we get a push up? Or are we going to get rejected? Based on my luck, we're going to get rejected, and then it's going to continue to descend, and then I will cover profits then. What the heck? I don't even have my phone down here. There we go. Come on, nice little push up. So you guys see this consolidation that's happening right here? You know, we definitely can get a push up, and I 100% know that. It's just, you know, there we go. And where's it at? All right. Oh man, I missed my exit. Let's see, I want to see what you guys have to say. You punk. And you know that's true. Right as I sell, I know it's going to go up. I'll do it for the team. Where's it at? 2.94. There we go. So, oh shoot. Come on, get out. There you go. And covering. There we go. Sold. 16.38. And there it goes. Is it about to break above $27? It would not be still difficult for me to believe that it's going to break above $23. Let me just see where this time is at. So 51.30. Okay. But yeah, so I have my alert set. Again, that's pretty decent for the day. And I'm going to have to step away because I know that if I look at this, I know, and again, this is something that I would almost like, I don't know, you guys do what you guys do, but based on my experience, like when I sell too early, I almost like watch something for the entire day, right? And it's just like all this like missed opportunity and stuff like that, and I don't necessarily like that. So it looks like we might be getting a rejection again. It's still showing signs of a pretty solid uptrend pattern. I just decided to sell based on the resistance at $27, which was a previous support. So that's really just it. So yeah, we talked about all the different ETFs. We did a couple breakdowns like we always do, and we covered profits. Today's Friday. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it easy. Let's not force any trades. But yeah, so. Oh, Danny, you guys cracked me up. All right. The MACD has peaked out. Yeah, so I do see that as well. The MACD did peak out. Thank you. Actually, I just saw that right now. So who was that? Real quick. The MACD. What is it? Chagozi just said the MACD just peaked out. 100%. Thank you again for calling that out. So are you coming to the LPP voice chat? Not right now, and probably not today. We have a couple. I've actually a lot of work that I have to knock out before the weekend, just based on like who we're working with and stuff like that. All those dingleberries. That is correct. Yep, you can do that with like your buys. You can do those with your exits and all that good stuff. So that's a good question. So again, guys, thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Thank you guys again so much for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, then feel free to reach out to me through direct message. I did do a pretty good job catching up on my direct messages as of yesterday. Again, the best time to get in contact with me has to be from around 7:30 a.m., which is 1 hour after the market opens, to about 2 hours after that. After that, if you try to direct message me, then just give me about 24 hours to respond to your direct message. So thank you guys again all for your time. Continue working hard, continue following your dreams, let your passion be what drives your success. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.